cristalina no lo es. Humilde hogar de lámina y cartón que estallan en el cerro con los rayos del sol. Nadie nos dará gobierno, majestad. La necesidad es ajena, no sienten mi pena. Nadie nos dará gobierno, majestad. La necesidad es ajena, no sienten mi pena. Que allá donde no había, no solicito permiso para la vida. Soy rica en esperanzas y de reto no me niego. Le daré vista hasta el más ciego. Soy rica en esperanzas y de reto no me niego. Estoy aquí, estoy aquí y de reto no me niego. Estoy aquí, estoy aquí. Estoy aquí, estoy aquí. Yo veré, no me encierro. Estoy aquí, estoy aquí. Conocí, siempre hay manera. No más necesito un terrenito, una parcela. Hay bastantes, sobran ejidos robados y prestados. El vivo sigue de pie, no como el muerto acostado. Ay, esas cumbres, cómo brillan, llamando la atención. A través del mundo aumentan los hogares de la mina y cartón. Allá donde no había, no solicito permiso para la vida. Soy rica en esperanzas y de reto no me niego. that pre, present, present sowing. Other ties, US lies, co-and-tell and throwing. The more they come, they'll challenge sets of law and knowing. What is seen, what it's moving, there is no destroying. And if you've heard this story, you know more pain than glory. Oh, pillow people. Oh, pillow people. Dreaming, dreaming, dreaming dreams, prayer slowly lifting. On the pillows in the valleys, on the bestia drifting. Milagros, santos, muchos love, elder persinadas. A safe return, a miracle, new peregrinadas. The oracle said miracle, yeah. History at its pinnacle, yeah. The oracle said hope for our lives. Particles or dense electrons, rays of hope are soaring through the sky. Light of day, bodies ignite, the seeds ignite. No moment gone, there is no race. As people live to witness my light, one fire, one light, one fire, one
Welcome to Trek Table, your Sunday weekly podcast holding Trek space for
Black, Indigenous, Brown,
women of color,
queer or otherwise,
and our allies.
Hello. I am your host, Claudia Alec, and today I am holding Trek space for shared leadership.
and I'm your host, Marie Wren, and today I'm holding Trek space for navigating equitable partnerships.
Hi, I'm your co-host, Maya Mama, and today I'm holding Trek space for trusting your gut.
Hi, I'm your co-host Maya, and I'm holding Trek space for, alternative ways of seeing and education.
So welcome to the Trek Table. We start with acknowledging that our teams for Trek Table are on the unceded lands of the Tongva, Chumash, Kizh, Ohlone, Puyallup, Pawtucket, and Massachusetts people. We are grateful to the Indigenous stewards of these lands, the ancestors who have come before, and those who are here now, and those who are yet to come. I invite our listeners and viewers to be an acknowledgement of the lands that you're on. So let's breathe that in and breathe out.
Thank you all for joining us today as we hold Trek space for women of color here in front of our live digital audience on Outside In Theater's YouTube channel, as well as all of those listening to our podcast archive.
Our opening track for this episode is titled Chicana Skies by the band Quetzal off their album Quetzal. You'll be hearing several tracks by Quetzal throughout this episode of Trek Table. You can follow them at Quetzal Music on Instagram and see our show notes for the chat link for their merchandise and links and more.
Welcome to episode 24 of the Trek Table. Dela is out today, as you can see, so we are your hosts for the day. So thank you so much for showing up for this conversation with women of color. We're assembled today to discuss Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 7, Light and Shadows.
This episode gave us a lot of opportunities to explore trust in self, in family, in Starfleet. It even gave us an opportunity to explore how much we trust Section 31. So many juicy things to talk about in today's episode of on Trek Table.
We're so glad that you're joining us in this BIWOC Trek conversation. Hello and welcome. So we can build with each other. How do you enter this conversation as a Star Trek fan? Are you Star Trek curious? A newbie? An OG Trekkie? Star Trekking family? Star Trek femme? Trek zaddy? Trek baby? Let us know in the chat.
On today's episode of Trek Table, episode 24, we're going to be exploring Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 7. We're going to explore this episode in a couple of different ways. We have Trek Table questions. We're going to play Popcorn Recap. We are delighted to be doing Marie Has Questions, a little bit of Discovery Design, some Space Runway. We're going to get deep with it with the thematics. Then we got some spoiler zone stuff, signal boost, and final thoughts. And as always, we close with gratitude.
We're so excited to have you all here so that we can continue our practice and ask you to all share your name, pronouns, visual description, any access check-in, and finally, how do you enter as a Star Trek fan? Maya Mama, can I ask you to go first?
Oh, I'd love to. I go by Maya Mama. I use she, her, hers pronouns. Access check-in. I'm doing pretty good. It is very warm, as it is summer. I am a young-looking, middle-aged black woman. I'm wearing makeup, a blue top, and I have a little afro puff on the top of my head. And I identify as Star Trek generational and poly sci-fi. Maya, how about
can I
you?
ask you to-
Hi, everyone. I'm Maya. I go by she, her, hers pronouns. I am a Guatemalan mestiza. And today I'm wearing some Vulcan Planet colors inspired eyeshadow. I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of reddish and orange, those pops of those trees. And I think there might be a fire nearby or in Northern California. So my access needs today is just make sure that I'm hydrating and just being careful with the air outside. And I identify as Star Trek Light, Star Trek Femme, and I'm making my way through, some Star Trek documentaries and all kinds of, I'm trying to follow a really slow thread. There's just so much. But yeah, I'm a newbie and I'm always happy to be here and asking questions. Happy to be here.
Well, hi there. Hello, everyone. This is Claudia checking in. Gender pronouns, they, their, she, hers. Visual description, African-American woman wearing big old headphones over a big brown afro, sitting mysteriously on the deck of the original Star Trek Enterprise. Access check-in. I'm a muscle disorder, so if you ever see me like pulling a face or it's rare that I am pulling a face at a Star Trek opinion. I'm pulling a face because one of my muscles is pulling me. I've got all of my beverages, the air dirtiness, like the smoke thing, climate impacts, it's all real. So I will be drinking lots of beverages, and if you see me sneeze, it's because I'm fighting them smoke particles, y'all. Good to be here. And my Trek identity. I identify as a generational Star Trek lover, and I'm poly sci-fi. How are you doing, Marie?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Hi everyone, Marie Wren. I also go by Marie, she, her, hers. I am also a young-looking Asian Filipinx woman with about chin-length black hair. I have new glasses that are wire-framed and tan skin. And I'm standing in the corner of my kind of office area and my living room. And I'm wearing, I'm wearing my Linda's t-shirt, which I just love wearing this one. So I'm extra happy today because I get to wear my Linda's. And I identify as, access check-in. It's warm, so I have my air conditioning going and some fans, so you might hear that in the background. And my Star Trek identity, with my mama bringing up Star Trek baby, I think I want to identify today as a Trek teen, and because I feel like I'm on this journey and getting a bit angsty about it, and have feelings, and so I have that, and I also consider myself like a science fiction medium well done kind of fan. So that's me.
Oh, well, we have a little final business before we jump into our discussion, and that is we like to name our Trek table agreements.
Yes, welcome to all who enter. Whether you're a newbie or raised in a Star Trekking family, welcome. Let's build this space together. Whether you use Trek Table as your nerdy exploration or as part of your self-care ritual, Trek Table is a weekly space to put down the world for a second and come into the Trek space.
This is a space for Black, Brown, Indigenous women of color to be a fan, a geek, a nerd, and explore the vastness of the Star Trek multiverse.
Trek Table is also a place for allies to come, engage, and explore as well. This is an opportunity for allies to hold space and focus for insights, perspectives, and experiences that we may not be familiar with.
And now that we are all here, we remind you that we seek to build an environment of mutual respect and listening. We understand we will disagree, and low-key, that's part of the fun, but there's enough hate in the world, so let's keep our phasers on stun.
Great. So let's breathe those agreements in. Breathe in. And breathe out.
Well, now it's time to get this party started. And I, for some reason, am actually having a little bit of trouble. My computer's decided to freeze. I know the next thing is our first Star Trek question, but I can't get to it in the script. Y'all, help me out. What's
I
up?
got you,
Do know what
Claudia.
it is? Oh, wait, I think I
Yes.
remember what it is off the top of my head. What's your freaking opinion about swearing on Star Trek? And as you are reflecting on that question out there in the YouTube universe, trying to think about what your answer is to what your freaking opinions are on swearing on the Star Trek universe, I'm going to go into the Jeffries tubes and see if I can fix this.
Mira que regresa el maldito. Viene con las manos llenitas de piedra que no quiere arrojar.
All fixed. And now I'm here with Trek table question number 1, which we are giving to our table assembled here and to those in the chat. What are your frickin' opinions about swearing on Star Trek? Maya, I would love to start with you as somebody who perhaps does not have as strongly held swearing opinions as Maya Mama and myself.
I know we just heard Tilly swear for the first time like a couple episodes ago, and then this week she's saying frick all over the place. So but I feel like I need a timeline where there's actually swears, or even just a show where there's swears in every other line, like it's totally, it's a whole nother dialect almost. I want some contemporary swears, and I want some like future spacey kind of swears, like, something about the tardigrade, your face is a tardigrade, something. I should have come up with a cool thing, but yeah.
Your face
That's
is a
my
tardigrade. Tardigrade face. Maya Mama, what's your take on swearing in Star Trek?
Number 1, I thought you said phasers on stun. Phasers on stun. I'm just kidding.
I thought she said stunning. Sorry.
Oh,
Stunning.
yeah, that makes sense too. Well, I always enjoy a well-placed swear, but mostly I think that professional speech is a tool of white supremacy, and I hope that actually disappears in the future. We talk how we talk, and our language means something. And if I want to drop an F-bomb, it's because it's necessary to whatever narrative that I'm telling, and should be respected. And that's my opinion.
That's a freaking good opinion, though. I freaking agree with that freaking opinion. Marie Wren, what is your take on freaking swearing? I'm just gonna keep saying freaking because it's fun. It's lost all meaning. It's actually, before I go to you, Marie, I have to mention this. Do y'all remember forking? You know how they used to take movies and they would show them on TV, but they'd have to edit out all the swear words, and they'd have to like sub in a different word, and the word that they would often sub in would be forking, and it was weird. We all knew what forking meant. We know what frickin'
I
means,
watched
too.
16 Candles on TV, and there's one part where he's like, "You pencil neck," and that was not the original word. So yeah,
Double damn on all of you. Double dance.
Hey, y'all, mind your forking business and shut the fork up. What were you saying, Marie Wren?
Well, I agree with Maya Mama. I think that when swears are done well, I really appreciate them, and I think my feelings on using freaking and frickin' and is just, I wish it was something else. I wish there was something a little bit more creative, like what Maya said earlier. Just kind of let's update it. Like, on The Good Place, you used fork and shirt very intentionally, and it was fun. And so, like, let's do something creative and fun with it if we're not going to swear. But swears are okay.
I'm really moved by the idea that swearing as a tool of, or disallowing swearing or professionalizing speech with disallows certain types of communication is a tool of white supremacy culture. That felt really real and powerful to me as an observation, Maya Mama. So thank you. Marie, Maya, I agree with both of you as well. I do wonder, do you have a swear that you like to do? Do y'all swear or do you not swear at all?
I
Hell
swear
yeah.
a lot. A lot.
Oh, all right. Well, that is the end of our first Trek Table question. Turns out Trek Table is full of a bunch of potty mouth folks fighting white supremacy. The reason we do it is because we are resisting the frameworks of white supremacy. And that was our first Trek Table question. Please, we want you to follow us. You can follow us at Trek Table on Instagram. And that was Trek Table question number 1.
Trek Table is proud to be a part of the digital theater platform at Outside In Theater. Like and subscribe to our Outside In YouTube channel for our weekly live digital recordings. Listening to the podcast? Check out youtube.com/Outside In Theater.
And with this song Matanzas by Quetzal, we know it's time for popcorn recap. The game is simple. We have 2.5 minutes to share the chunklets of the plot from this week's episode.
Yes, today we are discussing Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 7, Light and Shadows, directed by Marta Cunningham, story by Ted Sullivan and Vaughn Wilmot, and teleplay by Ted Sullivan, I believe.
We think it's funny because Maya and Marie Wren are disco newbies, and Claudia and I come from a generational Trek family. Can we get it done?
Brandon, can we please put 2.5 minutes on the timer? Can we get it done?
I think so. I think so.
Incoming transmission.
Okay, Discovery is researching the Red Angel's signal over Kaminar, so then Pike and Tyler buddy cop it and investigate the anomaly on a shuttlecraft. They send a probe into the anomaly, and then but both Pike and Tyler have beef, but they get stuck in a time rift, and then they bond over it.
So then Michael goes to Vulcan, and her adopted mother, Amanda Grayson, is hiding Spock's in the Katra room with the Katra stones. Sarek objects. Cut to black.
No champagne in the Kacha room. But Saru is in action, ordering folks to save Pike and Tyler back on the Discovery, and Owosakun on sensors. Reese figures out where they are. Oh, so good, Reese. And has some lines. Tilly is worried. Stamets uses his tardigrade DNA to find them. Other bridge folks do stuff.
Yeah, and on Vulcan, Spock, he's like rocking and he's repeating stuff, and he's repeating a series of numbers and stuff, and he's quoting Alice in Wonderland because his mom gave it to him to help him with his Vulcan or space dyslexia. And Sarek and Amanda, they have a super intense but like really calm fight.
Okay, and then the probe that Pike and Tyler had sent out into the anomaly comes back to them, but from 500 years in the future. And then it's all souped up, and it has like a bunch of future-y tech things, and it's trying to kill them. It's trying to kill them both. And then Tilly then beams Stamets onto the ship, and then to fly them out of the time rift and back to Discovery.
So then Sarek instructs Burnham to trust Starfleet and takes Spock to Section 31, suspect, to fix his mind.
And then Bros, Pike, and Ash fight the future probe, self-destruct the shuttle, and then beam back with the help of Stamets. But it sent red lights into the computer. What? Is this a virus? Ariam's eyes have red lights in her eyes, and she looks confused for a second.
Oh, okay. And then back on Section 31, Captain Leland tells Michael that Control is going to make sure nothing bad happens to Spock, who's Control. And in private, Georgiou warns Michael that Spock is not going to survive that red-orange hat thingy that's going to kill him.
Okay, then Georgiou sends Burnham to stage an attack that allows Burnham and Spock to escape the ship. Leland is mad, but Georgiou, oh, he got so close.
I felt like we were on track, and then I don't know what
We
happened.
were doing so good. We were so close.
We were doing so well. So let's just get back to the last couple chunklets of plot that we have. I'll just finish mine and then go to Maya Mama. Sorry, we ran out of time, but okay. So Captain Leland is mad, but then Georgiou threatens to reveal Leland's secret, which is that he is responsible for the death of Burnham's parents.
Dun dun dun.
So Michael understands that Spock's Vulcan dyslexia. She understands what's going on, so she flips the numbers that he was repeating and figures out that they're the coordinates to Talos 4. Why does that location sound so familiar?
Well,
Can't
Maya
wait.
Mama, we didn't really get it done. Could you give folks some advice about where they can actually find a good
Well,
recap?
if you're looking for an act by act details, we invite you to check out the recap at Women at Warp. Great job, Sue. We'll drop the link in the chat and in the episode notes.
And if you've been having a good time, like we always do, let's keep the dialogue going. Like and follow us on Instagram at Trek Table and on Twitter at Trek Table One. And join our convos with hashtag Trek Table, hashtag BIWOC Trek, and hashtag Star Trek Discovery.
Marie has questions.
What does this mean?
Marie has questions.
What's happening? She did what? She's from where? She killed who?
Welcome to Marie Has Questions, where we want to model in this section that it is okay to ask questions, especially for a Star Trek teen like me, with a topic as big as Star Trek and what we all know from all of the seasons of Discovery. So Maya Mama and Claudia are standing by. We have 2 minutes on the clock, and I will ask as many questions as I can, and Maya Mama and Claudia will answer as many questions as I have. Okay, let's go.
Incoming transmission.
Bless you.
Okay, so
The rift in time and space that swallowed the red dot. The red dot was the thing with the tachyons. Was that like the signal? I was confused. It got like there was a red dot and it got swallowed up by this anomaly,
Yes.
and I don't know
Yeah,
what
the
is
red-
what.
That basically, you know what the episode told you. The episode told you everything you know. That there was like the red angel was like there and then wasn't there in time. Maya Mama, you got a better description?
Yeah, they gave us everything that we need to know up to that point, and we're gonna find out more in that in the future episodes. Like, we're not supposed to know anymore. I guess they explained it as much as they're going to. So you understand it. You're good.
Thank you. Okay, so in the sacred cave of the Vulcans, there were like glowy things. Do we know what those are?
So those are Katra stones. The Katra is like the Vulcan soul almost. It's their mind. And Vulcans have the ability when a Vulcan dies to extract their
Like
Katra
to pass
and
it
then
along to somebody.
yeah, it's someone else's. It's their knowledge. It's their wisdom. It's all of that stuff. Yeah, and then they store it in like tombs. But it's like the collective knowledge of all the Vulcan people.
So yeah, like if you wanted to find some old Katra stone with somebody's like ancient thoughts, you could break it open and be like, "That's what they meant."
Yeah.
Okay, so that
Yeah.
was what was interfering with Sarek being able to connect with Spock, right? With his Vulcan meditation. Okay. And so I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this, but is Ariam like a full android or not?
She's a human. She was in an accident, and so a lot of her parts have been augmented with computer stuff, including stuff in her brain.
But also, we don't know this at this point in the season. She hasn't had told us
Oh.
yet.
Oh, right. I
Yeah,
forgot.
we're gonna find out
I
more
forgot
about
they
her.
haven't had that.
She's
Yeah.
she's just a sexy robot mystery right now, but yeah, she's an augmented human.
Yeah. She's cybernetic. We got it.
Amazing. Well, I really appreciate your time and patience with me. So that was Marie Has Questions.
And
If
if
you're
you're
enjoying
enjoying this segment, please don't forget to join the Trek Table mailing list at trektablepodcast.com. Welcome back to Discovery Design, where we're going to dish on the design elements giving us all this drama. Y'all, I'm just going to mention some topics and I want you to go off because the sound design. Can you go off on the sound design? I thought it was amazing.
Oh, I really enjoyed the time echoes, the way that when we were having the time displacements, which I think is like really super classic Star Trekky type of things to have time phenomenons and anomalies, which gave me a bunch of happy feelings. But it was I really enjoyed the echoes and everyone witnessing those echoes.
There was also an interesting effect they were doing with the Vulcan, like the Vulcan mindscape, where we could kind of hear some of the Vulcan mindscape, or also hear like an extra layer of like distortion to Spock's voice, just kind of giving us a clue that like things weren't quite right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Did
the
anyone notice-
overlapping as he's going through his logic exercises or that too. Yeah, just the overlapping sounds. Mm-hmm.
Did anyone else clock the very extreme lighting choices being made too? Like I was looking at this show heavily with my design lens, and I was like, oh my gosh, like there's gold for the design for like Discovery, but then it's very red or kind of pink toned when we're on Vulcan, and then sort of blue lighting in Section 31. Did anyone else notice?
Can I
lighting
can I
choices?
actually correct that? I always thought that
Oh.
I felt that Section 31 was more gray.
Ooh.
Which I thought was like really there was this gray, and which I felt was appropriate for it being Section 31. There's blue lights because that's the main ship's coloring, except for the new Enterprise. That's how ships look now, or look at that time, is that there is a lot of blues, but I felt the grays with the black, with all the Section 31 personnel wearing blacks, except for the ones wearing white and the plastic overlays. But I felt like there was a lot of gray in it.
Oh, that's so useful. And for those listening via the podcast, we were just looking at images of Section 31's layout and what that lighting looked like. I love that. Y'all, we were on planet Vulcan. We've already like discussed a little bit about how Vulcan's pretty. Can we talk about it? What y'all notice? I heard of somebody mention the Katra room. What's up with the Katra room?
There's a meeting in the Katra room. Sorry.
I love it. I loved the glowy faces of the past members. Now, I don't know if that Katra room was some sort of generational thing that belonged to Sarek's family, but I just thought it was super cool looking. And I believe that the faces, that they're all faces so that Vulcans can mind meld with it, so that they can get the information from their ancestors, which is
Oh my gosh! All right,
what
the
an
audience
amazing
now.
thing.
The audience couldn't see our faces. Maya Mama, when you made that observation, both Maya, Marie, and myself all went, oh, that's
So
amazing.
that they could. mm,
Wow. So they don't even have
Right.
to be alive, and they can go into, they could be connected to their ancestors in a really deep way. That's
it's
interesting
really
because
beautiful.
I also, as she lands on the planet Vulcan, I noticed like these orange trees. And so there were all these kind of like different colors. I sort of saw teals, oranges, and I thought that was very interesting because of Vulcans being so committed and dedicated to logic, that it wasn't cold, kind of like Section 31. That feels cold to me. I'm worried for them if maybe the air conditioning is on high, but on Vulcan, there was like even a little bit of a storm as she lands. There's mountains, there was a warmth to it, even though there's this whole kind of debate between logic and emotions that comes up with the Vulcans. And I super loved those oranges. That's why I put on orange eyeshadow today.
So
Yeah,
I-
even the wood in Amanda and Sarek's home is like an orangey wood. And so like the color story of Vulcan I thought was really great because it was like, yeah, it is very visual, like we are not in space right now. And so so I really appreciated just being like, where are we? Oh yeah, we're on Vulcan. And that like visual kind of acknowledgement was, very quick. And then it was a nice contrast to even like the blues that they were wearing, and of their clothes, of Burnham's and Amanda's and Sarek's clothes were all very like a nice contrast with the warm tones of Vulcan.
Also,
so
like their house, I was trying to figure out, is it 2 levels or 3 levels? But it would definitely look, there's like multiple, there's like the landing pad and then the stairs, the very kind of, lines. They all love these like kind of harsh lines. It was sort of mid-century modern to me a little bit. And then also kind of just, I don't know, we've been talking about maybe the influences of Vulcan could be all kinds of things, but just lots of structure and lines. So that was a beautiful, beautiful shot there.
oh, that is a really beautiful shot. I agree. Now, now I was going to say that one of the things about Vulcan that we always forget about is that um uh Vulcans are extremely logical people, but they're also deeply spiritual.
Mhm.
They're deeply spiritual. They are actually deeply passionate people that rely on logic to keep them um I guess
Grounded?
capable, grounded, and able to um to like with Sarek's doing his meditation to try to find Spock's Katra. He has to be solidified and grounded with logic. He is one of the
Mm.
most logical
Oh.
beings that exist on Vulcan at this period of time. He understands uh um logic better than most people. But yeah, anyway,
That makes
I have
so
other
much
things.
sense. That makes so much sense. I thank you for that, because I did a little bit of watching of the original series, Journey to Babel, because I wanted to know a little bit more about this relationship between Sarek, Spock, and Amanda Grayson. So it's hard. It's a hard relationship.
I'm so watching that exact episode at the end of our Trek table today. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Thank you for that suggestion, Maya Chinchilla. You give the best suggestions. I'm going to hold us off on having a conversation about Latak Tarai, which is like the formal name for the Vulcan learning disability that Spock had. And I keep saying Vulcan learning disability. That's the Vulcan name for it. Apparently, it's just a learning disability.
Yeah.
And Vulcans are weird about that. So we can talk about that later. I want to take us back to Discovery with the shuttle and the time rift, because there was some bananas design choices, and I know we're running out of time. So I just want to make sure that we reflect on some of the cool stuff, because like that future squid thing, the squid thing, when they put the probe and it came back from the future, that was cool looking.
So I have a couple of things. So we noticed that there were toggling switches, and in addition to touch screens. Now there were touch screens. So when Tilly was using the transporter, she had a touch screen, but then there were also toggle switches next to that. On the spaceship, on the shuttle, also see the same type of configuration where there are touch screens, but mostly we see a lot of the toggles. You can see the toggles right now on screen where there's buttons and toggles that remind us of all the old school stuff, but also there is a reminder that Christopher Pike himself said he wanted to get rid of touch screens, he wanted to get rid of holographic screens, and that is why the Enterprise looks the way it does.
I love it. I love the logic of it because it actually makes sense to me. Because what gives you better sound quality? An LP, an actual record, or a CD? Your best sound quality comes from the wax, baby. I'm telling you, old school is sometimes a lot better.
Yeah. Agreed. No Star Trek fight here. Also,
Well,
all
I was
ships.
going to say.
Oh, go
I was
ahead.
going
Go
to
ahead.
say that it was interesting that the shuttle shields were even like a physical shield. Like there was like a blinds that came down when they were talking about the shields, and then I was like, what? They're a physical. It's a physical thing and not like a force thing.
Well, all ships have
100%.
physical shields. All ships have physical shields. We just don't talk about them ever, and so it's really cool to see.
That
They
is cool. All right, y'all. Well, I'm gonna close us out this week because you know that we're gonna be talking some more next week about all of these design elements giving us all this drama, but that closes out of this week's Discovery Design.
Yes. And I want to take a second to give a shout out to our podcast listeners. Thank you for supporting us as we grow this little show. Your likes and subscribes mean a whole lot. Please, if you have a second, just send us a tweet at Trek Table One and let us know your thoughts with hashtag TT24.
And as we head into our next musical break, I'm going to bring you truck table question number 2. Sarek's pad. We were just discussing the Sarek's pad is so sweet. It's nice. Where would you want to live and build a home in a Star Trek universe?
Mira que regresa el maldito. Viene con las manos llenitas de piedra que no quiere arrojar.
Welcome back, everyone. So here we are with truck table question number 2. Sarek's pad is sweet. Where would you want to build a home in a Star Trek universe? So we're thinking about the planet. We're thinking about the politics of the planet. We're thinking about the architecture, the weather. We've experienced several different locations this season and last season just through Discovery. Although I know Maya Mama and we've seen all of them. I think we've got some TNG folks who've seen stuff. Feel free to mention any planet you can think of from any iteration of Star Trek. All right, y'all? So this is permission to those in the chat as well. Name a place where you'd build a home. Maya, how about we start with you? Maya, where would you want to live?
You know, there's so many planets I still need to explore, but I feel when I was thinking about a Vulcan, I felt as we were talking about it, and also it confirms what Maya Mama was saying about the spirituality and the search for logic. I feel like it's a great place to write and maybe do some research.
Yes.
So I would definitely want an apartment at least there, maybe close to the monorail. But yeah, there's so many places maybe to vacation.
But Maya,
Yes.
would you feel comfortable having your home there, though? Because the Vulcans will be giving you stinky face the entire time. They don't play well with others. We've seen this. We've witnessed that Vulcans are nasty to other people sometimes.
They're a little racist.
This is true. So I think the writing and the research maybe aspect, and maybe to visit. Yeah, I haven't picked a home yet in the Star Trek world. So I need multiple apartments and vacation homes. Thank you.
Ooh,
Like it.
okay, Maya. All right. Well, Maya's already has hacked this question and knows how to answer it really well for all circumstances. Marie Wren, where would you live or where would you build your home in a Star Trek universe?
Yeah. Okay. So this one I find a little bit difficult with my kind of lack of recall of planets. So also a hack. I'm gonna go with a pre-warp planet whose environment is doing a-okay and not having like crazy extreme climate stuff going on. So I'll go
Nice.
with a pre-warp planet.
I love that. I really like the idea of being like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to a pre-warp planet and just get off the grid. That's like living off the grid in the Star Trek
Yes.
universe. It's
Mhm.
amazing. Maya Mama, where would you decide to live?
The pleasure
Or to
planet of
build your home?
Risa. The pleasure planet of Risa. Because here's the thing. Here's what it comes down to. On the pleasure planet of Risa, I can do whatever I want. That doesn't mean I'm gonna like get freaky every day or party it up. Sometimes I just want to be alone.
Oh, you're
And
right.
and the thing about Risa is that they respect however you get your pleasure from. They respect that. So if I just want to like be in my house and write up stuff and express myself artistically, that they respect that. They respect hedonism, but hedonism isn't always this intense thing. Sometimes it's just like I just want to chill by myself and watch my stories or write my stories, and that's where I would like to go. So I would like to spend my time on Risa. Also, uh if I do want to have a whole bunch of fun, then I'm already there and I don't have to take a trip.
Amazing, amazing, and amazing. I'm loving it so much. I love that in our audience, we have a comment from Brandon Chang. What does a Vulcan condo look like? Like, what's the condo? Like, what's it look like? What's a condo look like? We've seen the 3-level split
Practical.
home now.
Practical.
That's
It's
Did you
practical.
see that there were
if they
high
got a lot
rises?
It's
I
true,
saw
they
the
have
high rises
rises.
near the monorail. Yeah.
It's true. Oh, and Menda's like Terralicia, living off the grid. I'm loving it. Oh, that is a hardcore choice though. Like they were a little Mennonites. Like because Owosakun was a former Mennonite. That's why they sent her down there, because they were like, oh, your people understand this living off the grid type of a lifestyle. Amazing. Y'all, here's my answer. I already hacked the question because I made the question. That's how I cheat the Star Trek question game. I would live on a shuttle ship. I would kit it out. You know how people are nowadays like getting vans to like go travel around the United States in a van? I would do that to like a shuttlecraft or like some small ship. I would kit it out and then I would just travel everywhere. So I would go visit all of you. You would all have guest rooms and I would visit you. I'd be like, oh my gosh, how's your studying on Vulcan, Maya? And hey, Maya Mama, I have the Adrienne Marie Brown book of pleasure activism as a holodeck feature. Let's go play with that on Risa. And
Yeah.
when I'd be like, how do I sneak onto your planet and not freak out the people? I don't want to scare them.
I was curious about that. If you could have a holodeck on a shuttle, and I believe in that. I want that for you.
Yes.
I love that. I like that you want that for me. I like that you want that for me. I want that for all of us. Y'all, that was Trek Table question number 2.
So, podcast listeners, jump in here and share what you think at us on Twitter at TrekTable1. For context, consider adding hashtag TT24, hashtag Q2, hashtag Build a Trek Home. Thanks, podcast listeners.
All right, y'all. And now is the point in our show where we do the very solemn act of having a dance break, because we head into Space Runway.
Some of the eye-catching looks from function to fashion in the 23rd century. Space runway.
Welcome to Space Runway. This week we are doing highlights from season 2, episode 7, with 6 looks today. Starting with look number 6, personal leave, Vulcan casual.
In a strapped and structured casual wear, Burnham arrives on planet Vulcan in a V-wrapped blue-black soft leather tunic-like jacket that hits mid-thigh over khaki leggings, along with high boots with a sensible heel. Take an extra look at that thick, matching leather belt with medieval designs. Permission to land on the runway granted.
Yes. Look number 5. Don't mess with Amanda.
Protective Mama Bear Amanda is here with her hair clipped back in a diplomatic bun with two delicate glittery clips and a monochromatic seafoam teal gown with sharp shoulders and a keyhole neckline and long kimono sleeves that are big enough to hide her son. This is a look that says, I will protect my son from the Federation, Section 13, and my husband behind those Katra stones. I do what I want. I already gave up Earth life. I will not give up my son.
Don't mess. Look number 4. The coordinate king of suede.
Here we are with the golden child, a father's disappointment, the Federation officer, Kirk's #1 bestie, the Vulcan logical man of mystery. Finally, we see the Mr. Spock. He's on the run, caught up in calculations, where up is down, but still looking like a snack in his scruffy beard, wraparound black suede jacket, and of course he got them knee-high boots. Emotions are scary, but the logic in your fashion fascinates, and your Vulcan eyebrows are on fleek.
Yes. And look number 3. Leland and all that leather.
So everyone in Section 31 wears leather. Even though they're probably in a climate-controlled environment, they must get hot sometimes. Leland is looking stiff and basic here, compared to all the details in Giorgio's leather outfits with his zipped-up, simple motorcycle jacket. If Leland is just a puppet, he should complain about his wardrobe to the puppet master.
That's right. I mean, really now. Look number 2. Through my lab coat, I can't stand the pain. What in the Agent Orange, evil scientist, non-consensual test subjects is this? This creepy lab technician protects his pristine whites in a clear plastic lab coat that gives us brain-splattering, murderous vibes. Section 31, what kind of operation are you running here? Because this lab coat is serving sinister. And finally, look number 1, brain scrambling helmet.
Captain Leland, what in the... We've got wearable tech here with this light-up open crown wraparound helmet that you're using to do what to Spock's brain? Scan and repair neural impulses, my butt. We're with Giorgio on this one. Grab your brother and run, girl.
And that is Space Runway this week. Thanks, nerds, for indulging me in space fashion talk. Fashion, form, and function in the future.
Hey, welcome to the thematic section of our Trek Table, episode number 24. What's up? I'm Dayla, your showrunner. She, he, they, Dayla pronouns. I identify as disco monogamish. Certainly Star Trek Poly, and to that end, happy season 2 launch to the Lower Decks fam. Super excited. Such a great first episode. If you haven't watched it, that's my little side thing. All right. So since I wasn't able to join you all today, I thought that I would, beam in from the hallway here on the USS Discovery, because disco and hallways. Anyway, so lots of great stuff. What's up? I'm Dayla. I'm so happy to be able to beam in. I hope you all been having a great time. I have no doubt with this table assembled and run by Claudia Marie Wren. Thank you to Maya and Maya Mama also. All right, so this episode we prepped about it on Thursday, and I really honor that part of what the team helped us to understand is like, this is an episode about who is trustworthy. Who do you trust? What is trustworthy? Is it a red angel? Is it a probe? Is it Section 31? Is it a Terran emperor, a husband, a wife? Or perhaps even to ask, as Tilly does, is her 4-dimensional math trustworthy? So we get so many pairings in this episode where we get to think about trust. Topic number 2 later in this segment, we're going to talk about the macro trust with the big entities like Starfleet and Section 31. But here in this topic number 1, I want to ask the table to go around and check in, folks also in the chat, like, we get so many pairs. Which pair is resonating most with you around this topic of trust? Are you more interested in like the Burnham Amanda conversations, the Amanda Sarek conversations, the Burnham and Georgiou? Maybe you're all about the bromance, buddy cop moments with Pike and Tyler, maybe a little bit of bromance versus that probe. And then of course you get Tilly and Stamets in there like mathematician hijinks and slapsticks as we really get this moment of trusting ourselves. So many entry points into this theme. So I just love to invite the table to go around. Can you share your thoughts on trust this week? Which duet or storyline has been resonating most for you this week?
Okay. Thank you, Dela. That was great. So I guess we'll all just jump right in. I'll go ahead and go first since I'm talking right now. And I will say that I think that the storyline that really resonated with me this week, I think it has to go to Amanda, Grayson, and Sarek. I think that especially that argument, or at least like their head to head of what to do, what is our responsibility, who can we protect, who can we not, with regard to Spock and Burnham, and what happens next now that we know where Spock is. And so and that they and this battle of who gets to have a say, who gets to make that decision. I love that Amanda got to speak up for herself. I don't love that she had to hide it, that she had to hide her decision from Sarek. And I'll pass it on.
I gotta say, I really agree with you on the Amanda and Sarek stuff. I really think that I don't think that Amanda necessarily is someone who hides things, because it's not very logical. And Vulcans, they do appreciate honesty, but they also understand strategic deception. So I think that even though Sarek dislikes what Amanda does, he understands the logic behind her deception. And I think that sometimes life is about who you need to trust. All of life is about who you need to trust, and you need to trust anyone, someone, to be able to survive. And that's what a lot of this, I think this episode is about, is about trusting someone to have your back, and more than have your back, hold you up, and build you up and not break you down.
Yeah, I'd love to jump in here, because I think it's so interesting, because they are so different from each other, and that doesn't mean that they don't love each other. They love in different ways, clearly. And I've been doing a little bit of background, because I wanted to see what this Amanda, Grayson, and Sarek, and the relationship with Spock. And I don't think it's necessarily that Amanda doesn't trust Sarek. I think she just has a different way of doing things. And they are a unit, but they're also independent thinkers. And she left everything behind by coming to Vulcan. but that doesn't mean that she doesn't have one way of wanting to influence her children and also protecting her children. So I like that they kind of disagree, and I don't think that they mistrust each other. Actually, I think that they love each other fiercely, and that is also why they don't like end up, calling it quits or whatever, right? So they have to hash it out. What I think also part of that theme that was brought up as well is about the self-trust. And it's really interesting, especially to see that through a character like Tilly, about not always trusting herself, and being very smart, very capable, and speaking up, but being in this moment of kind of like being unsure, whether it's just about the math or more. But I think it's good science to question yourself, to
Yes.
sometimes, if you're always think you're right, how do you grow? And I think it's good to question yourself, and to not to fully totally not believe in yourself or trust in yourself or trust in those that are around you. But there, I feel like the kind of the back and forth, that's part of how you build and grow as like humans and or Vulcans. So that's what I have to say about that.
Nice.
This is Claudia. I guess I could say I've been thinking a lot about like the Ash and Pike. I would 100% see that spinoff, Ash and Pike, just having adventures in a shuttle, just doing stuff and bickering with each other. I'm here for it. But they had to build trust, right? They lacked trust based on like really good reasons. Like Ash was like, "Hey Pike, I see how you're making choices from places that are about you individually and your emotions, and that are not about the best thing for the whole ship." And Pike is like, "I see you having some weird shadiness, and I don't trust how you're dealing with this like shadow self evoke." And they had to have some experience with each other to build the trust. Trust takes time to build, and you have to build it with each other. And the thing that I liked about Georgiou and Burnham's exchange was that Georgiou's nasty. She actually never lies. I rarely see her lie.
Like
what she does is
devil.
she just says the truth in a way that you could very easily misinterpret or not totally understand. And she does it with a smile. And I'm like, "Oh, that is just, you vicious, Georgiou, and I respect you for it." And what she does is she gives Burnham a reason to trust her in the moment, because she says, "Hey, not only I'm doing this because this will serve my self-interests. I'm telling you explicitly what my self-interests are." It's because Georgiou knows that she's not going to be able to say, "Hey, Burnham, just trust me." She has to be like, "Burnham, trust your experience of me being out for myself, and trust that that this serves me."
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love her. I love her blatant honesty, and the fact that she doesn't actually hide. She doesn't hide shit from Burnham. She
Hides
tells
in
her
plain
everything.
sight.
Yeah. She's like,
Right.
"Yeah, I might have killed my mom. I don't know. Maybe. Does it matter?" And you're like, "I feel like it should, but also I don't think it does." Oh, it's beautiful.
Okay, I believe we have another Dela video. So let's go to Dela.
What's up? It's Dayla. I'm back. All right. I had to come back for topic 2 because it's so juicy this week, and y'all know I can't stay away. All right. So the topic is trust. I'm super excited to hear what you all just said. I'm wondering if you want to pull back a little and think about not just the intimate relationships that are reflecting trust and opportunities to build trust, but can we talk about like this overall idea of like trust between cultures, trust between, so like Vulcans and humans, this trust between Starfleet and the people who serve in Starfleet, even the trust between regular Starfleet Captain Pike and, Section 31 and what we see there. So I just want to ask folks to think about like, we get these moments of like biculturalness where Amanda is really explaining to Sarek, I think it almost feels like for the first time, really about what's up with their bicultural child and like what she needs to do, and then also her stepping up as the mother of a differently abled kid, and like, what
Mm.
does it mean? And this is what happened, and watching them both kind of deal with how the system treated Spock. So I invite you to talk about, share about like the biculturalism that you're seeing in this episode. And then also that biculturalism might be even like more at a macro level, be like logic versus emotion, and kind of like, what do we get? I mean, the way that Burnham really heals from, we've been messaged all season about how Burnham has used logic as a way for her to heal from her trauma. So just thinking about that. And then just the key aha moment in this episode was really about discovering how Spock's learning disability, different ability, actually helped them. Yeah, when they thought about it from his point of view, it's when we had the aha. So I just kind of want to open up these thoughts. Maya, I know in our prep you had some really interesting thoughts about some of the magic that was going on in this episode. So I want to invite and see if maybe you want to go first here, and just talk about some of the biculturalism and magical things that you saw. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Dela, for that, putting all those pieces together and helping us have a deeper conversation about it. Yeah, for sure. I saw a lot. I identified a lot as someone who's, kind of bicultural, bilingual, and, who works in education as well, thinking about the way the magic of learning disabilities actually, we see it as something that's the disability, right? Like a subtraction, but it's actually, there's magic in there, right? The way that people can, either being from multiple lenses of either bicultural or bisexual, queerness, like all these different ways of seeing actually allow us to see something new, something fresh in situations and cultures that we may not always expect. And so I actually believe in that kind of magic for sure, especially when I see all these students who have different ways of seeing diverse ways of seeing and being. I think there's so much to learn from that, and that I think it's so shocking. I think from what I know of Spock, that this is sort of his, like maybe one of his sort of tragic flaws or something. Also the humanity aspect of him being his tragic flaw, him having, human blood and all of that being, and that fight with his father about that throughout his life, and also having to distance himself in order to be his own person. I think that it's really hard to even see some of the original series of Sarek, because he's even harder, and it's so hard to see that, like, and I'm so glad that Maya Mama brought up more aspects of Vulcan culture, because I'm so human centric in thinking about, man, like he must just be like repressing emotions and feelings, like that might be why it's so fierce in the in the aspect of wanting logic to guide you, because of the pain of that experience of living through emotions and having that be on the surface. And so there must just be so much going on, that, and wanting to control that, it feels painful as well. But I'm happy to see that, because I see that for people who admire a character like Spock, that flaws are what make us feel like we can continue this life, to see like how people move through that and how people make magic. I mean, even we Olympians, we hear from them too as being so incredible, and they have all this support, and when you have all that kind of a support, look at what you can actually do.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
All the feelings. I have so many more
That's so
feelings. I
great.
could go on.
That's great. No, there are so many great points that you bring up there, Maya. Do other folks have thoughts on this, like trust, dualities, yeah.
So I keep thinking about constantly, really in this season, I think a lot about qualified immunity. I also think about as much as I love Vulcan and I love Vulcans are racist. And that is because they
Speciest.
speciest. They fear emotion. It's not that they're like, oh, we're like super cool and don't care about anything. They fear emotion, and that's because of their past and the culture that they have had to build because of that. I'm trying not to spoil things. But they have had to build a culture of logic so that they can survive. Because of the fact that they're such a passionate race. Um, I think it's so interesting where we a lot of times place them because they're so logical. And that in a lot of ways, I think that the American culture places them in a scientific white person model, and I think that a lot of their self and their being is it reminds me of assimilation. Because they
Yes.
had to assimilate, they had to figure out how they could blend and still be a part of the the universal community, the
Mm.
the community of the federation. They spent a lot of time trying to fix what was wrong with them. But was it wrong? Like, we don't know. That's their culture, and it's something that hasn't actually really been touched on. The Yeah, the Vulcans fear, they fear those faults within themselves, and a lot of the times, those faults end up becoming clearly human things.
Mm.
And the way that Terrans work, you know, uh, going by your gut and diving in and things like that are superhuman, and Vulcans don't like that. And then you have a Vulcan with high super logic, and he married a human. He procreated with a human, which within a Vulcan society is foul and disgusting. And
It's why we ended up with the Vulcan extremist movement.
yes,
The violent Vulcan extremist movement.
yes, because of the fear. Uh, just because they don't outwardly express emotion, they are super scared of what will happen when they open up themselves. And I really think that is an interesting
Mm.
model
Mhm.
with which to observe Vulcan culture.
Love that. Well, I want to add something to the mix of this conversation, and it's actually just a little additive observation based on Maya's beautiful comments on being a Vulcan with a mixed species Vulcan with a learning disability on that planet. And I just wanted to talk about the social model of disability because I actually think it really makes a lot of sense when we're thinking about Star Trek and this character. Because the social model of disability doesn't say the condition is what disables you, it's
Mm,
society deciding to disable your condition. So it's not that. Like if Spock had been raised on planet Earth, Spock would have been fine. Spock would have had all of the natural supports and the things that Spock needed to fully flourish. That's part of Amanda's argument against Sarek, because Sarek was like, he was fine. He had something wrong. He was fine. He's like, no, actually, he had a disability and he was living in a society who had decided that no, he had a different, he had an alternative neurology. He had an atypical neurology.
neurodivergency.
He was neurodiverse, and on our planet of Vulcan, they treat people like that worse and badly, and that's why I had to help him with giving him Alice in Wonderland. So I just wanted to do a shout out for the social model of disability, kind of living really strongly within that storytelling that we just told.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
often have to overcompensate at a level that you don't even know what's happening underneath the layers, like how much you're overcompensating in order to, you know, function in a world that doesn't see all that beauty, for sure. But
Beautiful.
sometimes magic also comes from that, from the struggle.
Yes, this is really great. I love how we're really able to kind of pick apart, and not only that, but like uplift, like, or bring out points that really add so much value to this conversation, and add so much value to a way that we can look at this episode and everything that this episode raises. So thank you all so much. We have to wrap this up, unfortunately.
Oh,
so
But
yeah.
thematics wouldn't be complete if we didn't jump into the spoiler zone. If you're watching the show in synchronous order, please take a second and check the time code. When we say go, turn down your volume or mute the audio for the next 2 minutes. If you can see our visuals, come back when the alert turns green. Okay, Brandon, let's head into the spoiler zone.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Spoiler zone. Super excited to talk about the fact that Giorgio says to Leland, you are responsible for Burnham's parents' death. And I know that storyline, but I'm super excited as we move through this ritual each week to like get all the nuggets as they kind of get going. Super excited. I cannot wait to see Mama Burnham show up. And I think that what I'm also realizing in this episode is, yeah, just watching the tenderness and the way that Burnham is really using this to heal with him. I mean, they don't all know that now, but that's what's happening, right? So it's just really beautiful to watch this healing arc, and this season 2 is an opportunity. Like, we got the arc for her in season 1, but like the season 2 opportunity for Burnham to heal means that she gets to go into season 3 lighter. And I just honor these moments when women of color leaders have to go into themselves and heal a major trauma and fix a thing with a family member or themselves, a truth that maybe is not actually true. I'm gonna leave it there.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon, give Claudia
Yeah.
and Maya Mama
Yeah.
2 minutes on the spoiler zone clock.
2 minutes?
Engage.
There's not enough time.
Incoming transmission.
Okay, all right, girl. Maya Mama, you go first.
All right, so number one, I want to talk about what in the hell is up with Vulcan brains? Because number one, I want to talk about Spock's brain.
Isn't that the
Which
entire
is-
episode? Couldn't I watch an episode to learn about Spock's brain? That's something
Original
different. Move on, keep
series,
going.
original
Keep going.
series,
I'm
episode,
wasting our time. I'm wasting our
episode
time.
8. Episode 8. Episode 6 of season 3 is an episode called Spock's Brain, where Spock's brain is completely stolen from his head. And apparently, Vulcans have the ability to just like survive without a brain for a certain period of time.
I don't know why
It was
I'm
a
telling people to
stupid
watch.
episode.
Yeah, don't
It
watch
was a
Spock's Brain.
stupid episode.
Watch the pilot episode of Star Trek. Go watch the pilot episode. That's what's gonna set you up for the goodness for the next episode. Yeah.
I mean, okay. But also, I want to talk about Sarek and his super logical, very strong Vulcan brain, that he feels an enormous amount of emotion.
Oh yeah, we know this.
Despite the fact
when
that
he
suppressing it.
mind melted with Picard.
Right. So he had what's called Bendy syndrome. Bendy syndrome is it includes outbursts of emotion, irrational anger, and eventually all emotion is lost. It's very similar to what
Like
we
a
would
space Alzheimer's.
it's
Vulcan
dementia.
Alzheimer's?
It's dementia.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but this is something that Sarek has to deal with. It makes me wonder if he already knew about this and why it being why he was so worried about Spock and Spock's brain.
Oh, and you think that he's worried that Spock might have a little Bendy syndrome? He doesn't talk to Spock for 18 years, by the way. Like he's never
Yeah.
he's not going to talk to Spock again for another decade and change.
Yet he never talks to him during the whole thing of this whole mess up.
Transfer of data is complete.
Bad dad.
Okay, we got you saying he's a bad dad. The spoiler zone is done.
I didn't
You are
spoil
invited
anything
back.
saying that. I didn't spoil anything saying that. We
No,
know
right?
he's a bad dad. Bad dad.
Come back, Maria.
Come.
Come back.
Come,
We're
everyone.
back.
Clap your hands. I believe in
Everyone,
non-spoiler
Everyone in
zones.
the YouTube. Everyone in the YouTube. Clap your hands and yell really loud so that Marie and Maya can come back.
Yeah. All right, they're
What's your
back.
doodle? What's your doodles?
I'm gonna see.
Yeah, what's your
Okay.
doodle?
We didn't. Well, I feel like I didn't get to talk about this enough. But the probe, the squid probe, the evil squid probe.
I really love that
You know what
picture.
it reminds me a little bit of Bezos's rocket. It has some of the similar design issues, I think.
Yeah. So, mine is a probe with some tentacles, but mine actually looks a little bit more like a Hitachi magic wand, if you're familiar. So, I think yours has a different shape. I don't know.
I think you
This is
both
what
went
came out
there.
of my brain.
I think you both
Yes, we
went there
did.
sufficiently and
Some of
right,
us-
righteously.
Some of us use probes in different ways. Hi. Hello. Yes, this is my table. Yes. Okay. So we will post those on our Instagram, maybe if they allow us. And so thank you so much to share all of your thoughts on thematics and spoilers for Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 7, Light and Shadows.
And if you're intrigued by this wonderful approach we have to Star Trek, help us hold more Trek space for women of color and our allies. I'd like you to go to patreon.com/Trek table, and you can direct your dollars and support us and the work that we do.
And now we are heading into our final check table question, number 3. Favorite fight of the episode. We had Burnham versus Giorgio. Boom, boom. Just imagine that there's a title card that's very dramatic when it comes up. We had Pike and Tyler versus the Probe. Gunk, gunk. We had Amanda versus Sarah. Very mild. And Giorgio versus and best fight. Name your best fight. Can't wait to hear what you think out there in Trek space.
Mira que regresa el maldito. Viene con las manos llenitas de piedra que no quiere arrojar.
Hey y'all, we welcome back. Welcome back to Trek Table. We're doing our Trek Table question number 3. Favorite fight of the episode. You know this Star Trek Discovery. It's got them awesome space battles. You've got battle hand-to-hand combat. You've got verbal minds. You've got battles of the mind inside a mindscape. In this episode, what was our favorite battles? I will start with you, Maya Chinchilla.
Yes, I think it was also Amanda versus the patriarchy. I mean, just kind of pushing back on whether she is just the wife of, this ambassador, and she has a mind of her own. But also,
Amazing.
Burnham and Jojo.
Oh, also that. Okay, I'm gonna give you 2. You can have that, but I'm like Amanda versus the patriarchy for the win. She is fighting the good fight on multiple planets. Maya Mama, your favorite fight? Go.
I'm gonna say Amanda and Sarek as well. I just really want to. Well, just Amanda and Sarek. I feel that the Sarek got a little too complacent, with Amanda's her ability to submit. Because being a sub doesn't mean you don't have any power. I'm just saying.
Do better, husband.
Yeah,
Do
do
better,
better,
husband.
husband. Like I gave you this power. I gave you this power, and you aren't acting right, and I'm gonna take care of this. And I gotta say that I just loved her. Very calm, stated, "How dare you?"
Yeah.
It wasn't harsh. It wasn't over emotional. It was just, "How dare you?" I
was
stated
logical.
a fact. Yeah, it was super logical because she is saying you are completely incorrect in your assumptions about who I am as a person and as a partner, and you better correct yourself. Correct yourself, Sarek. And I loved it. I loved it. I thought it was great. And I will state that I've had some issues with Amanda because Mia Kushner did play um Jenny in
Jenny Schechter.
Jenny Schechter, thank you, in the L Word, and I hate Jenny Schechter as all decent human beings should. And so it was hard to see her. It's hard to see her in this position of power that I support.
So
Because
it feels like this actress has like flipped it with this character. We're into this actress now, right?
right, yeah, because like fuck Jenny Schechter. I'm saying that for everyone in the entire world to hear.
Well,
And
you
I'm
know,
done.
on Trek
Thank you.
Table, we've already established that we're okay with swearing. Marie Wren, what was your favorite fight of the episode?
You know, every now and then I like a good ace, so I'm gonna go with the ace of Giorgio and Leland, because that was over and done with before it even started.
Yeah, she's like, you're not in charge anymore. And it was just like, oh, she just said some quiet words to him, and it was like she shanked him. What?
Yes.
Amazing. I'm gonna have to go with the Giorgio versus Michael Burnham fight. It was physical, it was dramatic, it had stakes. It actually had stakes for me. You know, it was a pretend fight, but because they had so much like internal drama with themselves, I was like, are they really gonna hurt each other? I was there for it.
Well, they couldn't
Yeah,
fake it.
It probably
can't
felt
fake
good,
it.
yeah, to like shoot and punch a little bit. You know, just be like, just a little. I don't want
Yes.
to kill you, but yeah,
Yeah.
you deserve that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, from our audience, we have 40% voting for the Burnham versus Giorgio. Hey, 40% is with me, loving it. Oh wait, none of us gave Pike and Tyler versus the Probe any love. No one,
Yeah,
not the
'cause
audience, and not
It
us.
was fine because
I
it was fine.
I loved seeing him like try to find the Probe Klingon style. He was just like with like a wrench. That was hilarious. Amanda versus Sarek, also no votes, but Giorgio versus Leland, 60% the winner. I believe either that or it was Amanda versus Sarah Giorgio were a tie for 60%. I'm not sure. All I know is this was a fabulous conversation, and that brings us to the end of our Trek Table questions for this week of Season 2, Episode 7, Light and Shadow.
We strive to hold Trek space for Black, Indigenous, Brown women of color. Here are some resources that amplify and highlight the work of women of color content creators, community builders, and world shapers.
Yes, we like to signal boost the Southern Border Communities Coalition, SBCC, which brings together networks and organizations from San Diego, California to Brownsville, Texas, to ensure that the U.S. border enforcement policies and practices are accountable, fair, respect human dignity and human rights, and prevent the loss of life in that region. Help support their efforts and go to www.southernborder.org.
We also want to uplift the Matriarch Movement, which is an online platform, podcast, and nonprofit focused on amplifying Indigenous women's voices and providing wellness workshops intertwined with meditation, movement, and medicine. Find their podcast, weekly wellness workshops, and more at www.matriarchmovement.ca.
Paramount Plus's new animated comedy series, Star Trek Lower Decks, is back. Season 2 brings us back to the support crew serving Starfleet's USS Sorrentos in 2380. Shout out to my girl, Tawny Newsome, the voice of Ensign Beckett's Mariner. I'm just a big fan of Yo, Is This Racist? Watch episodes and more on Paramount Plus. Link in the chat and notes.
Great. Great. And so if you have a woman of color creator that you want to amplify, let us know. Send us a DM on at Trek Table on Instagram or at Trek Table 1 on Twitter. And that is our signal boost for Trek Table episode 24.
Thank you all so much for joining us today on the 24th episode of the Trek Table. As is the case every week, we share our final thoughts, and these are our final thoughts for Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 7. I'm going to invite Maya Mama to go first. Final thoughts, Maya Mama?
So many final thoughts, but let's just try to keep it succinct. I think that there was a lot of information about like how one interacts with their family when you have another member of your family experiencing issues with mental health, and how one communicates with their family and how one takes care of their family. I just thought that that was really really interesting. I really liked um I liked all the trust scenarios. It actually didn't feel um necessarily like they were forced in, like where we're like we got to figure out how Pike is going to trust uh trust Ash right now. Also I'm really looking forward to the animated series of that just has um Pike and Ash going fishing, Chris and Ash going fishing in the Pacific Northwest, riding horses, and just like living their bestest, funnest life as best friends. Because I don't know why, but I want them to be best friends. Like, I just really love it. I love them. Marie Wren, what do you think?
I thank you. Thank you for that, Maya Mama. I'm thinking a lot about what Maya said earlier about questioning in order to learn and grow. And so I think that's my final thought. I think like to balance that along with the trust that we need to have in ourselves as well. And in listening to each other is just really it's just so important. Right? Okay, I'll keep it as simple as that. So how about you, Maya?
Yeah, I had a lot of feelings of, seeing this beloved character, Spock, being revealed as, having a learning disability and all of this struggle between his Vulcanness and humanness. So I just really, I appreciated that. And so what I did was I went back to the original series, that episode with Journey to Babel. And first of all, the remastered of the original series, so gorgeous. Like, just the image is so crisp and clear. So it's different than what I watched in reruns once in a while, as a kid, a little bit grainier, right? But the way that Amanda is treated as a human and her emotional, and that also kind of going with like femaleness or womanness of being, oh, those emotional females, even though all the humans, Vulcans, are saying that about all humans. They kind of make a joke about that. And I felt like this was almost like this, the way that it's, this is like almost Amanda's revenge, in a very subtle, beautiful, fashionable way. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but all of that stuff that's going on beneath the surface as these very capable Starfleet folks who are the best of the best, right? But also learning from each other. And Star Trek, what I see it as being as also a metaphor for otherness, right? And thinking about otherness and thinking about our own xenophobias, our own, cultural centric, language centric, all of that way that we move in the world, that it's sometimes it's a safety mechanism, right? And Chorizo, my co-pilot below me, is growling in agreement. It's a safety mechanism that we sometimes shut off our emotions or pretend like we don't have emotions. But that but yeah, that's what I'm enjoying about Star Trek is this exploration into otherness and how do you build teams and how do you work with difference? You know, how do you challenge xenophobia? How do you challenge homophobia? How do you challenge, you know, ableism? How do you challenge, you know, the patriarchy? How do you you know, how do you work with people who are green? You know, so and and yeah, and so I'm appreciating where we're at in this season. I'm looking to figure out how this unique nugget takes us to the next episode. I can't wait.
Mm. Yes.
And Claudia, are you gonna? Why don't you tell us about your final thoughts?
Sure, yeah. My final thoughts would be, ooh, I feel like I've been thinking a lot about, well, this episode was all about trust, and I've been thinking a lot in terms of like in the rest of the world about the speed of trust and how you can only build at the speed of trust. So if you have a lot of people on your team and they don't trust each other, you're as slow as the least trustful connection on side of your team, right? So you've got a team of people who deeply trust Saru. So Saru in the moment is able to go, everyone, the plan has changed. We're no longer doing we're no longer doing an exploratory mission. We're actually saving them. Reese, you go try and do this. Awosika, you go try and do this. Y'all go try and do this, right? And they can do that because they've been building and collaborating together for time and they trust each other. The reason why the collaboration between Ash and Pike was rocky and unsuccessful was because they didn't trust each other, but then they built trust. So by at the end, when they're fighting that future space probe for 500 years in the future, they can do it quick and fast. A lot of times I'm working with organizations, they get mad at me because I'm like, let's take 9 hours to build trust. But it's because once you have trust, everybody can go so quickly that they don't have to look to ascertain that you have your hand out to catch them. They know that you're ready to catch them and they can just throw themselves into the moment. And those are my closing thoughts for this episode. Dayla, what do you think, Dayla?
Oh
Hey,
no,
what's up,
Dayla's
Stella
not
again.
here.
I just want to say thanks for letting me pop in and out this episode, the latter half of this episode. Final thought for me today is just really resonating on that moment, a couple of moments, watching Burnham having to confront her mother and say, no, we need to take Spock to the hospital. And just that clarity and that truth that I feel like Burnham has, and she's trying to figure out a way to convince Amanda. And so not that Section 31 is the hospital she wants to take him to, but I think I just watched this growth and this moment and this turning point, it feels like, really, for Burnham. So I want to say I'm resonating on that. And then as part of that, it's the line that Tilly, that Stamets says to Tilly in terms of trust the math, trust yourself. And I just appreciate that with these characters. We get to see not only Ensign Tilly kind of have this moment of not trusting herself when the stakes are super duper duper high. When are they not on Disco? But I also it just resonates in that moment of like, yes, when you're having to do a thing that you're really not sure. And so it just makes me think about Burnham in that hallway with Georgiou on Section 31 ship and just like, can I trust you? Can I trust myself in what I'm feeling, in what our connection is? And all this espionage and all this, you know, sleight of hand stuff just really, yeah, just in this time when we're rebuilding with each other, coming in and out of pandemia, how can we trust each other? How can we connect? How can I trust myself that I know what I'm doing in the key moment when it needs to be done? So that's my final thought, just resonating on that and just sharing that with folks who might be in doubt place. Thanks so much.
And those are our final thoughts on Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 7, Light and Shadow.
We hope you will join us as we with next week when we talk about Episode 8 of Season 2 of Star Trek Discovery, If Memory Serves.
Thank you all for joining us at Trek Table. Get first look at the Trek Table questions, inside scoops, and more when you sign up for our mailing list at trektablepodcast.com.
And you can find a Trek Table podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Like and subscribe to this channel so you can get more Trek Table in your algorithms.
Also, like and subscribe us on Instagram or Facebook at Trek Table and on Twitter at Trek Table One. Join our convos there and please comment using hashtags Trek Table, hashtag BIWOC Trek, hashtag Star Trek Discovery.
We all just want to thank you, share thanks and gratitude to the Trek Table assembled for episode 24. Special shout out to Dayla for joining us remotely.
And finally, I'd like to thank all our Trek Table assembled here today to hold down this ritual. Thank you, Claudia Alec, Maya Mills Lowe, and Maya Chinchilla. I'm Marie Ren Velez, and I just want to thank you all for sharing your insights and thoughts with us today. So today we were holding Trek Space for shared leadership. We are also holding Trek Space for navigating equitable partnerships, also trusting your gut, and alternate ways of seeing and education.
Trek Table executive producers Allison De La Cruz and Lizzie Viminda Jariwala, production coordinator Brandon Chang, artist coordinator Ariana Michelle, and social media manager and chat moderator Isil Borlasa.
Deep gratitude to and thanks to Outside In Theater, and extra thanks to Arlo, Alex, and Denny and Tamlin.
And yes, and also thanks to Dr. Deborah Carter, Doc Zulu, and Nancy Yap, and our partners at Visual Communications.
Trek Table is a service mark of De La Projects, LLC.
Thank you for joining us at the Trek Table. Let's close out this ritual for today by taking one more closing breath. Big breath in. And out. We hope that you will join us next Sunday, August 22nd, as we dive into Season 2, Episode 8 of Star Trek Discovery. If memory serves, we'll meet you back here at 4 p.m. for the Trek Table, here on the Outside In channel on YouTube on August 22nd. We'll be holding Trek Space for you until then. Have a great week.